What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of MLB action here on Thursday, July 11th. Wednesday was not our best day, guys. We gave a little bit back. We started things off a little bit rough with the over in that Seattle-San Diego game not coming through. Seattle actually had a 2-0 shutout in that game, so yeah, just nothing good happening for us in that one. The Rays, they played a super close 2-1 game against the Yankees. We got pretty unlucky there. We actually saw Tampa Bay have 10 hits in that game and only score 1 run, so an unlucky loss there for sure, at least in my opinion. We followed that up with a solid win on the Phillies, minus 126. It was a 4-3 Phillies win, but they were pretty much in control of that game the entire way. We also nailed the Brewers as our biggest bet of the day. We had the Brewers minus 1.5 at plus 130. That was a 9-0 blowout win there for them. So we'll definitely take that, but we're not able to close out the day well, guys. We had the Rangers minus 142. They blew a ton of chances to eventually lose that game. They lost it pretty comfortably, but they had their chances to put up plenty of runs and just didn't get it done. And we had the Braves minus 136. They gave up 4 runs in the 7th and 8th combined to eventually lose that game. They also had their chances, but man, they just messed everything up down the stretch, and a very good bullpen did not look very good. So overall, only 2-4 in the day. Not what we were looking for. Let's see if we can get back on track and find some wins here on a shockingly full Thursday slate. Before we get into the games, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the Detroit Tigers. The Guardians come into this game fresh off of a 5-4 loss there at Detroit. Not exactly what they had in mind. They're now down 2-1 in this series, hoping to earn the split there with another win here in game 4. They're 57-34 on the year though, so not too much to feel bad about. They're handing the ball to Spencer Howard in this game. He's been making some bullpen appearances. His last 3 times out have all been out of the pen with some pretty mixed results. He looked very bad back on the 29th against the Dodgers. He went 2 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 6 earned runs. Just not very good stuff. Definitely have some big questions about him. His last start was back on the 14th. He only went 2 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and 4 earned runs against the Angels. So we have some very, very big question marks about what we're going to get from Spencer Howard in this game. Not really big question marks about what we're going to get from this Cleveland bullpen, guys. They have been comfortably the best bullpen in Major League Baseball for quite a while now. They're sporting a 2.58 bullpen ERA, so very, very good stuff there. The offense has been a little bit, inconsistent recently. We see Kwan and Ramirez definitely leading the way, but in their 7th in the majors in runs scored, 12th in the majors in batting average, batting .246 as a team, 10th in the majors in on base percentage. So, some pretty positive numbers. They've scored 4, 9, 0, and 4 runs over the last few games though. So yeah, not exactly consistent production. So we've got some questions about this offense right now, and we'll see what they can do going up against the Detroit Tigers, who come into this game 44-49 on the year. They've actually looked very, very good recently, winning 5 out of their last 6 games. So, some positives. They've still got a lot of work to do, but they're handing the ball in this game to Jack Flaherty, who's 5-5 this season with a 3.24 ERA. He's coming off a pretty bad start, guys. At the Angels, he got knocked around pretty aggressively, 5 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs. Pretty weak stuff. A big departure from how good he'd been looking there recently. I mean, over his last few starts, he's been dominant, not giving up hardly any runs. He had a stretch there where he went 3 starts without giving up a single run. So yeah, definitely in line for a bounce back performance, assuming there's nothing wrong with him, which there's no reason to think there is. He's a very good pitcher. I think we'll see him bounce back in this game. The Tigers bullpen in general this season, guys, has been pretty middle of the road. I mean, right there around MLB average was an ERA just over 4. So that's not great. Not a bullpen we can necessarily count on, but they're going up against a Cleveland offense that's not exactly killing it right now. In general, in terms of their offense, the Tigers have been hitting the ball relatively well. They've scored 5, 8, 1, 5, 5, and 5 runs respectively. So yeah, for this team, that's pretty good production. They're only 21st in the majors in runs scored and 25th in the majors in batting average, but they've been swinging the bats a little bit better recently, like I was talking about, and the fact that they're 28th in the majors in on-base percentage, though, remains something of a concern at least. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Guardians at plus 120. We see the Tigers at minus 136. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Cleveland is 27-22 on the road. Detroit's 20-23 at home, so that's not great in terms of looking at the Tigers minus 136, but In general, guys, on the side in this game, I do tend to look towards the Tigers. I think Flaherty's going to have a good bounce back. I don't know what we're going to really see out of the entire Cleveland pitching staff in this game. Their bullpen's been very good, but this is the end of a long series, so maybe they're getting a little bit worn down. So definitely tending to look towards the Tigers minus 136 as the side in this game. In terms of the over-under, we see some mixed trends. Cleveland is a decent under team on the road. Detroit is actually a slight over team at home. So in terms of that 8.5 over-under, guys, not super interested in it. Just go ahead and give me the Tigers minus 136. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the Cincinnati Reds. The Rockies come to this game fresh off of a 6-5 win there at Cincinnati in Game 3 of that series. We'll see how Game 4 goes here, but the Rockies not having a great time this season. They're only 33-60 overall. They're hitting the ball in this game to Austin Gomber, who's 2-5 this season with a 4.47 ERA. He is coming off of a good start against the Kansas City Royals. He went 7 innings, gave up 6 hits, and only a single earned run, but his start for that against the Brewers wasn't amazing, despite the fact the Rockies managed to win that game. And he hasn't been looking that great over his last 5 outings either, so definitely some questions for me about him. He hasn't faced the Reds yet this season, so nothing to glean from that, but we are also extremely concerned. Every time we talk about the Colorado Rockies, you have to mention how bad their bullpen has been this season, guys. Dead last in the majors with a 5.82 bullpen ERA. That is cartoonishly bad, would maybe be a good way to describe it. Absolutely terrible bullpen out there. You can expect them to definitely give up some runs. And while he went 7 innings, Gomber went 7 innings in his last outing, he doesn't usually go that deep into games. So if we end up in a situation where we're going to see more than 3 innings out of that Colorado Rockies bullpen, you can definitely expect them to give up quite a few runs. And looking at this offense, I don't know if they can really counterbalance that, guys. This offense hasn't been amazing this season. They are 22nd in the majors in runs scored and 22nd in the majors in on-base percentage, and they're not even playing this game at home, which obviously makes a difference. You have a lot better time hitting at Coors Field, although this one is at the Great American Ballpark, so maybe that helps a little bit. Over the last few games, they've scored 6, 6, 0, and 1 run respectively, so not exactly a team that I trust very much at the plate. They're going up against Cincinnati Reds, who come into this game fresh off of that loss. They're 44-49 on the season, hitting the ball in this game to Hunter Green, who's 5-4 on the year with a 3.45 ERA. He's coming off a very nice start there against the Tigers. He went 7 innings, gave up 3 hits and no runs in the game that somehow the Reds managed to lose 5-3. So that has to be a bit frustrating for him. Honestly, each of his last 2 starts were excellent. He did have a hiccup there against the Pirates, but 4 out of his last 5 starts have been absolutely dominant. So very good things to say right now about Hunter Green. Also some pretty good things to say about that Cincinnati Reds bullpen, guys. Easily top 10 in the majors with a 3.54 bullpen ERA. So definitely positive things there. The offense has been a bit all over the place. They've been better recently, though. Definitely have to give them credit. They've scored 5, 12, and 6 runs respectively over their last 3 games. We've seen, some guys stepping up for them a little bit. They're up to 16th in the majors in runs scored, but still way down there in terms of team batting average and on base percentage. They're only 18th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is not an offense that I feel like I can really lock in for, lots of production. And looking at the numbers of this game, guys, the odds makers don't really agree. We've got the Rockies at plus 176. We've got the Reds at minus 198. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. The Rockies are only 12-33 on the road, so that's a big part of this whole, this whole situation, why we see the numbers where they are. Rockies terrible on the road. The Reds not amazing at home, only 22-26 at home. I'm definitely leaning towards Cincinnati to likely win this game. If you wanted to make it worth your while, you pretty much have to take them minus 1.5. That kind of messes things up a little bit, though. I mean, if you take them minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 105, but do we really expect them to win this game by 2 or more? It seems relatively likely given the situation. I have some questions about this Reds offense, but they've been scoring recently, and I do think they're going to find a way to score some runs against the Rockies, who pretty freaking bad coming out of the bullpen, guys. And even if we do see a good start from Gomber, which is far from a certainty, the bullpen, we can count on them to give us some runs. So definitely leaning towards the Reds minus 1.5 in this game. In terms of that over-under of 9, I think there's a chance we might be looking at the under. We see the Rockies are a slight over team on the road. Cincinnati is 27-18-3 to the under at home, but in general, guys, I'm more interested in the Reds minus 1.5 in this game. It actually has a chance to end up in the pinned comment. I like Hunter Green out there on the mound a lot. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the New York Mets. The Nationals come into this game fresh off of another loss. They've now dropped 4 in a row. They lost the second game of this series 6-2. They're hitting the ball in this one to Mackenzie Gore, hoping he can stem the tide here. He's 6-7 this season with a 3.83 ERA, coming off of a very bad start against the Cardinals. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 5 earned runs. So not great stuff there. His start before that looked very good against the Mets, though. I mean, pretty good. 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, only 1 earned run. He struck out 8 in that outing, but giving up 5 hits over 5 2/3, not exactly dominant. It feels like he was maybe a little bit lucky to escape from that one without more damage. And earlier this season, back on the 3rd of last month, he faced the Mets, and it was a debacle. He went 4 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and 6 earned runs. So we'll see what we get out of him in this one against a team that he's had 1 decent and 1 terrible outing against. The Nationals bullpen has not exactly been trending in a positive direction lately. They're down to a 4.16 bullpen ERA, so that's not exactly what you're hoping for out of this bullpen. And I mean, their offense has been pretty bad. They've scored 2, 5, 0, and 3 runs respectively over their last 4. They're down to 18th in the majors in runs scored. They're 26th in the majors in slugging percentage, so not a team with a whole lot of power up there. They're only 19th in the majors, getting on base at a 307 clip. Like, just not an offense that we can really trust. And they're going up against a New York Mets team that comes into this game winners of their last 2 in a row and 4 out of their last 5 to get back to 1 game over 500. They're handing the ball in this game to David Peterson, who's 3-0 this season with a 3.58 ERA. Not coming off of an absolutely dominant start, but I mean, 4 1/3 innings against the Pirates and only gave up 2 earned runs in a game. We saw the Mets win eventually 5-2. That will definitely work. We also can't help but notice that the Mets are 5-0 over his last 5 starts. That's pretty crazy stuff. He's looked good in general, maybe not dominant. He does have a tendency to occasionally have some very short starts, which does put some pressure on this Mets bullpen that is not amazing, guys. A 4.27 bullpen ERA is certainly below average in the majors. Maybe not drastically below average, but it's not great. Their bullpen, definitely a concern for me. It's been trending in a slightly more positive direction recently, but like I said, guys, I've got my concerns about that bullpen. But looking at the offense, things have been looking pretty decent. They've scored 6, 7, 2, 3, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. Not like they're facing the toughest opponents out there, but still, we can feel pretty good about how they've been swinging the bats recently. I mean, they're tied for 10th in the majors in runs scored. They're exactly 10th in the majors with a 248 team batting average. That is very, very reasonable. Getting on base at a 319 clip. That's nice. And their slugging percentage, guys, is 415. That is good for 8th in the majors. So definitely have some good things to say about this offense right now, no doubt about it. We can also feel pretty good about the last 2 times that David Peterson took on the Nationals. Both of those were games where we saw the Mets eventually come away with the win, and he looked good in both of those outings. So looking at the numbers for this game, it's a little bit surprising to see the Nationals at plus 120 and the Mets at only minus 134. We've got an over-under of 9 showing for this game. Washington is 22-26 on the road, so not an amazing road team. The Mets are only 22-24 at home, which also isn't fantastic, but in general in this game, guys, I'm definitely leaning towards the Mets minus 134. Not a lot of trends to look at here in terms of the over-under, but I think the Mets with David Peterson on the mound are in a very good very good spot to get another win here, and yeah, go ahead and seal up the 3rd straight win in this series. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates going on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Pirates come into this game fresh off getting shut out 9-0. That's right there on the heels of them winning 12-2, then get shut out 9-0. They're 44-48 on the season, hitting the ball in this game to Paul Skeens, who's 5-0 this year with a 2.12 ERA. He's coming off of a pretty good, but maybe not incredible start against the Mets. He did give up 2 earned runs on 4 hits over 7 innings, so obviously that's great stuff. He once again gave up a home run, so that's starting to look like something of a trend for this young guy, but overall, not a lot of negatives to find about Paul Skeens. He's an absolute monster out there, so as usual, we're expecting good things out of him in his first career start going up against the Milwaukee Brewers. The Pirates bullpen, on the other hand, has been a completely different beast. They are bottom 6 in the majors with a 4.43 bullpen ERA. Pretty weak stuff. Not expecting a lot of good things out of them. That could be the undoing for this team right now. And the offense, I mean, they're very inconsistent. 12 runs one game, 0 runs the next game. Like, what are you going to get out of them? I don't know, and I don't think there's any way anybody knows. I mean, Brian Reynolds is obviously a monster, but this team is only 23rd in the majors in batting average and 25th in the majors on base percentage. They're 20th in the majors in runs scored. Like, just not a lot of consistency here and not a lot of great bats. A couple of very good ones, but not a lot of great ones. So we have our concerns about their offense here going up against the Brewers, who come into this game 54-39 on the season, fresh off of that 9-0 win. They're handing the ball in this one to Aaron Savale, who's 2-6 this year with a 5.18 ERA. His first start here for the Brewers didn't exactly go amazing. He was going up against the Dodgers. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits and 4 earned runs, including 3 home runs. So, I mean, that was at the Dodgers, not exactly the easiest place to pitch, but still, I'm sure they had slightly higher hopes than that. So, we'll see what he can do in this one. In terms of their bullpen, the Brewers have been good all season long, guys. They're currently in 5th in the majors with a 3.38 bullpen ERA. So, once we see Savale come out of this game, we can expect the bullpen to pretty much hang on to things, but what are they going to be able to do out there against Skeens up at the plate? I mean, the Brewers are obviously coming off of a very good game where they went 9 innings and we saw Myers throw 8 scoreless innings. Like, great stuff there. But yeah, what are they going to do against Skeens? I mean, this has been a great offense all season long. Don't get me wrong. They're 8th in the majors in runs scored, 5th in the majors, batting .255 as a team. They are the 2nd best on-base percentage team in the major leagues, guys. So definitely a lot of things to feel good about, but man, nobody's been hitting Skeens. So we've got some questions about how many runs they're going to be able to put up in this game. And looking at the numbers, guys, the odds makers are really, really big in here on the Pirates. We've got the Pirates at -132, the Brewers at +115. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Pirates are 22-23 on the road. The Brewers are 27-14 at home. That is a very, very good home record. In terms of the over-under for this game, we see Pittsburgh's basically a 500 over-under team, and Milwaukee is a big over team when playing at home. So in general in this game, guys, I know we've got Skeens on the mound. So if you want to take the Pirates through the first 5 or something like that, sure, I can get on board with that. In general, I am leaning towards the Brewers to eventually win this game, though. I have my questions about Savale, that's for sure, but I also have my questions about the Pirates' bats, and this is not a game that I have a ton of confidence in. It's not going anywhere near the pinned comment, but if you're forcing me to bet it, go ahead and give me the Brewers +115 at home. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays going on the road to take on the San Francisco Giants. The Blue Jays come into this game. They're currently playing right now in the top of the 6th inning with things tied up at 3 apiece there in Game 2 of this series. In Game 1, we saw the Blue Jays take the 4-3 loss, so we'll see what they can do in this one. They're handing the ball to Kevin Gausman. He is 6-8 this year with a 4.64 ERA. He is coming off a decent start at Seattle, but when you're giving up 6 hits over 6 innings and 2 earned runs to the Seattle Mariners, that's not exactly dominant stuff, guys. They are a very, very weak hitting team. And speaking of things that are weak, we've got that Toronto bullpen, which is 2nd worst in the majors with a 4.81 bullpen ERA. Pretty big yikes for me there. Is this offense good enough to carry a pitching staff like that? Absolutely no. They are not. We see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. leading the way with a .291 batting average and 13 home runs, but that is not going to be enough, guys. This team is 26th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors in slugging percentage. They've scored 3, 5, 5, and 1 run, respectively, over the last few games, and that's actually a power surge for this team. Like, they are putting up more runs than they normally do, and it is not a lot. So, well, they're going to need to do something here going up against the Giants, who come into this game obviously still playing right now, but fresh off that 4-3 win. The Giants are only 45-47 on the year, so not super evident which way this team's going to actually turn here, but they're handing the ball in this one to Jordan Hicks, who's 4-5 this season with a 3.47 ERA. He's coming off a mediocre start there against the Atlanta Braves. It was at Atlanta. He went 5 innings, gave up 8 hits and 3 earned runs. So seems like he was a little bit lucky to escape with only giving up 3 earned runs. And in that game, we eventually saw the Giants lose 3-1. Also, we can't help but notice that the Giants are only 1-4 over his last 5 starts, and some of those have certainly been his fault. So yeah, Jordan Hicks maybe not super high on my list of starters right now, and neither is the Giants bullpen. They're sitting with a 4.36 bullpen ERA, which is far below MLB average. So major question marks about this pitching staff for this game, and also some questions about the Giants' bats. I mean, they're 14th in the majors in runs scored and 16th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're batting .244 as a team, which isn't terrible, but over the last few games, I mean, in their current game, they've scored currently 3 runs. The game before that, they scored 4. Game before that, 4. Game before that, 4. Like, 4 runs a game with this pitching staff, I don't think is exactly going to get the job done. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Blue Jays at -104, the Giants at -110. We've got an over-under of only 7.5 in this game. That's fairly interesting. We see Toronto is 20-26 on the road, so not the best road team. The Giants are actually pretty good at home. They're 26-19 at home. We see that both teams are showing slight trends towards the under, but in this game, guys, I'm tending to look a little bit towards that over 7.5. It's a pretty small number. I also wouldn't blame you for taking the Giants in this game. I mean, we do have Jordan Hicks on the mound, which has some positive history this season, but hasn't been throwing the ball great lately, but really neither has Gausman, and that's what really makes me think that the over 7.5 is going to be my main lean in this game. Is it going in the pinned comment? I don't think so, but yeah, I do think there's going to be a decent amount of offense in this one, despite both teams showing some slight trends towards the under. Next up, guys, we're looking at the LA Dodgers going on the road to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Dodgers come into this game fresh off a 4-3 loss there at the Phillies. They found a way to lose that game despite Bryce Harper being out. Obviously, it was a very, very close one, but they've now lost 3 in a row, and they're handing the ball in this game to Landon Knack, who's 1-2 this season with a 2.86 ERA. He's coming off of a mediocre outing against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He went 4 1/3 innings, gave up 4 hits and 4 earned runs, including 3 home runs, which is a pretty big concern when you're about to go up against a team like the Phillies. Knack has looked good at times this season, don't get me wrong. I mean, his 4 starts before that bad one against the Diamondbacks were all very reasonable. He had 2 good starts there in June, so we got to give the guy a little bit of credit. Does he go super deep into games, though? No. Is that a big concern? I wouldn't really think so, guys. I mean, the Dodgers bullpen has been one of the best in the majors this season with a 3.33 bullpen ERA, rating them about 3rd in the majors right now. The bats are a concern right now, guys. They've only scored 4 runs over the first 2 games of this series. They've only scored 6 runs over their last 3 games combined, so all of that, pretty big concern. I mean, Ohtani is really having to carry a big load for this offense right now, and it's tough. I mean, over the course of the season, the team's put up great offensive numbers, don't get me wrong, but right now things are looking a bit rough. There's no doubt about it. They're going up against a Phillies team that managed to get the win there in Game 2 despite Bryce Harper sitting that one out. He's currently listed as day-to-day with his hand issue, so we'll see if he ends up playing in this game. Obviously, whether or not Harper's in there is a pretty big deal for this team. I mean, the dude is a monster. He's been having a very good season, but seems like some injury problems cropping up for now, so we'll try and keep you guys updated on that, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what actually what actually happens, whether or not he's going to be healthy enough to get back in the lineup here for Game 3 of this series. The Phillies are handing the ball to Aaron Nola in this game. He's 10-4 this season with a 3.48 ERA, coming off of a serviceable start there at the Atlanta Braves. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits and 3 earned runs. He did give up 2 home runs in that game, which is a bit of a concern going up against a team like the Dodgers, but yeah, in general, guys, he's looked pretty good over his last 5 starts, and the Phillies are 3-2 over those 5 starts, with really only one disaster in there. It was at Boston back on the 13th, where he just got absolutely destroyed. So that was a long time ago. Seems like he's back on track now. Also seems like that Phillies bullpen is on track, guys. 4th in the majors, a 3.36 bullpen ERA. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And while they did only score 4 runs in Game 2 of this series, they scored 10 in Game 1. What are they going to do here in Game 3? We'll have to wait and see. It depends a good amount on whether or not we're going to see Harper out there. I mean, having a hand bruise can be tricky. He could feel much better tomorrow, or it could be, worse, and there could be no way that he plays. So, going to have to be a wait and see situation on whether or not he's going to be out there. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Dodgers at plus 136, the Phillies at minus 162. We've got an over-under of 9.5 in this game. The Dodgers are 26-18 on the road, so, not a terrible road team, but the Phillies are a great home team. They're 34-13 at home. We also see both teams showing small trends towards the under. We've got the Dodgers as a small under team on the road, and the Phillies as a small under team at home. With a total, with an over-under there of 9.5, I'm tending to lean towards the under in this game, especially if we see Harper not play. I mean, we only saw 7 runs scored there in Game 2 of this series. We did see 11 runs in Game 1, but I don't think we're going to see the Phillies absolutely go nuts here against Knack, so I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, but guys, in general in this game, I do like the Phillies just a little bit, but much more than that, I like under 9.5. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Chicago Cubs going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. The Cubs come into this game fresh off of a 4-0 win there in Game 2 of this series. We saw Imanaga look absolutely crazy out there, out-dueling Corbin Burns, and yeah, just a great win there for the Cubs, who have now won 3 in a row. They're up to 44-49 on the season. Handing the ball in this game to Justin Steele, who's not been bad. He's 1-3 this year with a 2.95 ERA. He's coming off a very good start against the Angels. He's actually looked very, very reasonable in all 5 of his last 5 outings, guys. I mean, a good start against the Angels, a decent start at the Milwaukee Brewers, not an easy team to pitch against, a very good start against San Francisco, actually 2 good starts against the Giants, and then a very dominant start at Tampa Bay. So yeah, over his last 5 starts, very, very good stuff. The Cubs are 3-2 over those outings. How has their bullpen been looking? Well, lately they've looked very, very good here, but over the course of the season, they're pretty average with a 4.17 bullpen ERA. So, not a disaster, not a bullpen that we necessarily hate. The offense has been an issue, but they've scored 4, 9, and 5 runs respectively over their last 3 games. Seems like they're a bit back on track, possibly. They're 19th in the majors in runs scored this year, only 26th in the majors in batting average, though, 15th in the majors in on-base percentage. Not a very good power team, so we've got some concerns about this offense, but in general, the Cubs have been playing much better lately, and the Orioles have definitely fallen off a bit. They're down to 57-35 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Albert Suarez, who's 5-2 this season with a 2.48 ERA. He's coming off a good start against the Oakland A's. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs, so pretty solid stuff there, and honestly, he's looked pretty good in, I would say, 4 out of his last 5 starts. He did have a pretty bad start at Houston, and his start at the Yankees wasn't amazing either, so, he's had his hiccups lately, but it was not against teams that are of the same caliber, at least the same offensive caliber as the Chicago Cubs. Not really an elite offensive team by most metrics, so we'll have to take that into account. We're a little bit worried about the Orioles bullpen. It hasn't been looking as good lately as it has over the course of the season. Well out of the top 10 now with a 3.80 bullpen ERA, so certainly some room for concern there about this bullpen. And the offense, guys, has disappeared. They've scored a grand total of 2 runs over their last 2 games combined. That's pretty bad. They got shut out by the Cubs in game 2 of this series, like just not swinging the hottest bats there, and they're at home, so like I'm not really sure what their excuse is right now, but it is not looking great up there at the plate. I mean, over the course of the season, this has been the second highest scoring team in the majors. They're still the top slugging percentage team in the MLB with a .458 slugging percentage, so that's very, very impressive. But yeah, right now things just aren't looking that good for them at the plate, so pretty big concern there. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Cubs at +112, the Orioles at -130. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. The Cubs are only 18-28 on the road, which is a record they've been improving all of a sudden, but Baltimore is 29-18 at home, so that's pretty solid stuff. The Cubs are a slight under team on the road. Baltimore is a significant over team at home. No big surprise there. The way things have been looking in this series so far, I'm very tempted to take that under 9. I do think that we're going to see a decent outing from Steele. I think we're going to see a decent outing from Suarez as well, so this could be a no-run first inning spot if you guys were interested in that, and I also think under 9 is very much in play in this game. I also don't hate the Orioles -130 to go ahead and get a win here. I don't think they're going to get swept by the Cubs, or I don't think they're going to lose 3 straight to the Cubs, so we'll have to see what happens. Are either one of those bets going to end up in the pinned comment? I would honestly say both of them have some sort of chance. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the New York Yankees going on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Yankees come into this game fresh off of a 2-1 win there in game 2 of this series. Very, very low scoring there, not a lot of offense. The Yankees are now 56-38 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Nestor Cortez, who comes into this game 4-7 this season with a 3.41 ERA. His last time out, he did look very good against the Red Sox. He went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits and only a single earned run, but that was one of his best appearances. I mean, the game before that, he got shelled by the Toronto Blue Jays, so, you know, not exactly a guy that I have a ton of faith in, but we'll see how he looks here against the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, back in May, he did not have the greatest time at Tampa Bay. He went 5 1/3 innings, he gave up 4 earned runs in that game, and then back in April, I mean, late April, he went 7 innings, gave 6 hits and no runs against the Rays, so, you know, we'll see what he can do this time against them. He's been looking a bit better lately, but he's not a guy that I trust to be super duper consistent. And what do we really think about that New York Yankees bullpen right now? I mean, guys, I wouldn't say that it's headed in the best direction. They're down to around 10th in the majors with a 3.64 bullpen ERA. And while they are coming off a game they looked pretty good, it hasn't been dominant stuff lately. So we'll just have to wait and see what we get out of them in this game. We're also going to have to wait and see what we get from this Yankees offense that is not putting up a lot of runs right now, guys. They've scored 2, 3, and 0 runs over their last 3 games. Not great stuff. Obviously, they're very banged up, so they have plenty of excuses, but man, excuses aren't going to win you ball games. The 2 runs they managed to score in game 2 of this series is what gave them the win. So we'll see what they can put up in this game, even being with, you know, like a fairly limited roster. They're taking on the Tampa Bay Rays, who come into this game losers of 4 of their last 5. They're 45-47 on the season, so not exactly great. They're handing the ball in this one to Shane Baz, who's 0-1 this year with a 4.50 ERA. He's going to be making his second start of the year. His first start this season was at the Texas Rangers back on the 5th. He went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits, and only 3 earned runs. So pretty good stuff from a 25-year-old, you know, coming out there and making his season debut. So I think there's some chance we'll see him look a little bit better in this game than he looked in game 1. But the Yankees are a different team than the Rangers, but the Yankees are also not at full strength. So we'll kind of have to wait and see there. Once he comes out of the game, though, we are very concerned with what we're going to see from the Rays bullpen, guys. They're 25th in the majors with a 4.44 bullpen ERA. That's pretty weak stuff, especially going up against a team like the Yankees. I have my concerns about this bullpen being able to hold things down, although they haven't looked terrible so far in the series, so we'll give them some credit there. Yeah, guys, not super hyped about what we're seeing from this offense. I mean, they've scored 1, 5, 2, and 3 runs respectively over their last few games. They're down to 25th in the majors in runs scored. That's not great. 27th in the majors in slugging percentage. 21st in the majors, batting .235 as a team. Like, just lots of bad things to say about this Tampa Bay Rays offense at the moment. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the odds makers kind of agree. They've got the Rays at +110, the Yankees at -120. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Yankees are 30-19 on the road, which is pretty impressive. The Rays are only 24-25 at home, which obviously not ideal. We do see both teams showing trends towards the over. The Yankees are 26-20-3 to the over on the road. The Rays are 25-21-3 to the over at home. So if you wanted to take over 8 and hopes that the bats come alive for this game, I suppose you could, but I'm not too interested in that, guys. If you're forcing me to bet this game, I do think I like the Yankees -120 a bit. I'm not sure what we're going to see from Baz in this game. I also am pretty sure we're going to see some bad stuff from that Tampa Bay Rays bullpen, so go ahead and give me the Yankees -120 on the road in this game. Is it going to end up in the pinned comment? It's got an outside chance maybe, but I think it's pretty unlikely. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we're looking at the Oakland A's going on the road to take on the Boston Red Sox. The A's come into this game fresh off of a 5-2 win there in Game 2 of this series. They tried to make a furious comeback there in Game 1 and fell short, but they got the win there in Game 2. They're only 35-59 on the season, so not a ton of reason for optimism. They're handing the ball in this game to Luis Medina, who's 2-3 this season with a 4.37 ERA. He's coming off a great start against the Orioles, and honestly 2 very, very good starts in a row, and 3 out of his last 4 starts have all been very, very good. His last time out against Baltimore, he went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, and only a single earned run. His start before that at the Arizona Diamondbacks, he went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, and only a single earned run in that one. Very, very positive stuff. We did see the A's go 1-1 in those games, so that's a little bit disheartening, but in general, they have to feel pretty good about how he's throwing the ball right now. He hasn't faced the Red Sox yet this season, so that's going to be a new experience, but we'll see what we get here out of Medina, and we'll also see what we get out of this Oakland bullpen, which has been better than you would think, guys. They're somewhere around top 10 in the majors in bullpen ERA with a 3.69 ERA coming out of the pen. So, some pretty solid stuff there, to be honest. And while the bats haven't looked amazing lately, I mean, they have scored 5, 9, 3, and 19 runs over their last 4 games. So, some relatively, big numbers. Obviously, that 19-run game is just crazy stuff. You're not going to see stuff like that very often from any team, but that has helped them climb out of the absolute cellar. They're up to 20th in the majors in slugging percentage, 28th in the majors in runs scored. They're only batting .225 as a team, but they've got some guys out there. I mean, we see Brent Rooker out there batting .282 with 18 home runs, so that's something positive to look at, and he's coming off a very good day yesterday, so definitely some positive things, some positive trends to look at for this offense. And they're taking on the Red Sox, who come into this game fresh off of that 5-2 loss. They're 50-41 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Tanner Houck, who is 7-6 this year with a 2.68 ERA. So he's had his ups and downs, but in general has been putting up solid numbers. His last time out was a debacle of a start, guys. Very weird short start at the Yankees. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 2 hits and 3 runs. Only one of them was earned, but his start before that against the San Diego Padres was not a good one either. So we've got some questions about him. We also do notice, though, that the Red Sox are 4-1 over his last 5 starts. So, there's some positives mixed in there. The last time he went up against the Oakland A's was back at the very, very beginning of the season. So we don't really care too much about that. And we'll just have to see how he fares against them in this game. He has not been looking good recently, guys. That is for sure true. The Red Sox bullpen in general has had a little bit of a downtick. I think we can pretty much safely say that. They're sitting somewhere around 12th in the majors with a bullpen ERA of 3.73, and it hasn't been looking super pretty recently, so we'll see what ends up happening out there. But yeah, the Boston Red Sox pitching staff in general is not looking like it's quite on top of its game. The Red Sox offense comes into this game looking a little bit suspect as well. I mean, they did that 12-run game in Game 1 of this series, but they've scored 2, 12, 3, 4, 3, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. Yeah, not an offense that just, locks you in and they're going to score a ton of runs. I mean, they're 12th in the majors in runs scored, don't get me wrong. 5th in slugging percentage, 8th in team batting average, batting .253 as a team, but they can really come and go out there like they went here in Game 2 of this series, so we'll see what we get out of them in this one, but seems a little bit tough here looking at the numbers for this game. We see Oakland at plus 194. That is a big, big underdog, almost a 2-1 underdog. We've got the Red Sox at minus 205. We've got an over-under of 10 in this game. Oakland is only 12-34 on the road. We see Boston is 21-23 at home, so they're not a very good home team. Definitely something to take into account. Oakland is an under team on the road. They're 25-19-2 to the under when playing away from home. The Yankees are 20-20-4 when they're to the over-under when they're playing at Fenway. So no trends to look at there, but in general in this game, guys, I do think under 10 is very live in this game, but I also, crazily as this is going to sound, I'm leaning towards the Oakland A's plus 194. That's a very, very big underdog, so don't go out there and put that in all your parlays and then be upset when that breaks your parlays. This is a game that I think is definitely worth taking a look at as a single play, but I think there's some very good value there on the A's plus 194. I'm not sold on how Tanner Houck is looking right now, not sold on how the Red Sox in general are looking right now, so go ahead and give me the A's and a taste of the under in this game. Moving right along here, guys, we look at the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the Houston Astros. The Marlins come into this game fresh off of another loss. They lost 9-1 in Game 2 of this series. They're 32-60 on the year, so straight up not having a good time. They're handing the ball in this game to Rodri Munoz. He's 1-3 this season with a 5.48 ERA. He is coming off a decent start against the White Sox. I mean, he only went 4 innings in that outing. He's went 4 and 4 2/3 innings over his last couple of starts, respectively. Actually, his last outing wasn't even a start, guys. He came out of the bullpen. So we'll see what he can do. Moved back into the starting rotation. He has straight up not had a good time this season in general, though. So pretty big concerns about this 24-year-old out there on the mound for this game, and we're also semi-concerned at least about that Miami Marlins bullpen. They're sitting with an ERA of 4.00 right now, so not a complete disaster, but also not a bullpen that I'm super high on for all the obvious reasons. This team hasn't been very good this season. They haven't been good at the plate either. They've scored 1, 3, 7, 4, and 2 runs respectively over their last few games. They're 29th in the majors in runs scored. They're 29th in the majors in slugging percentage. They are dead last in the MLB, guys, in on-base percentage. Like, this is just not a very good offensive team. So I have some big questions about whether or not they're going to be able to, hang around in this game. They're taking on the Houston Astros, who as of now have not confirmed a starter for this game. So that is a significant concern for sure. I mean, in the majors, they're tied for 8th in quality starts, so that's not amazing necessarily. I mean, it's above average for sure, so don't get me wrong there. But in terms of in total team earned run average, they're sporting a 4.13 team pitching staff earned run average. So that's not amazing in terms of their bullpen, guys. The bullpen's been decent, a 3.81 bullpen ERA, and that's a number that's been trending in the right direction for quite some time now. So we'll give the bullpen a little bit of credit right now, but I have some question marks. I have some concerns since they have not yet, named a starter for this game. In terms of their offense, they've scored 9, 4, 2, and 3 runs respectively over their last 4 games. Obviously, this is a team that should be very good offensively. They're 10th in the majors in runs scored, but 1st in batting average, 7th in slugging percentage, and getting on base at a 324 clip. That is good for 6th in the majors. So definitely some positive things to say about this offense, and they've been looking decent here against the Marlins. So I think we can expect some good things from them. I think we expect them to put up some runs here against Rodri Munoz. Just a lot of question marks right now for me, considering the fact that they have not confirmed a starting pitcher for this game yet. So we'll just have to wait and see in terms of the numbers for this game. We see the Marlins at plus 166, the Astros at minus 198. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Marlins are 14-28 on the road this season. That's pretty bad. We see Houston is 25-19 at home. They've definitely been much better at home than they have been on the road. We do see, interestingly enough, that Miami's a big under team on the road. They're actually 28-14 to the under when playing away from home. That's an MLB best to the under on the road. We see Houston is 24-17-3 to the under at home. So they're a borderline significant under team as well. So if you wanted to take a look at under 8.5, I guess you could. But in general, this game is going to be a question mark for me until we find out who's actually going to be starting in this game. If we see somebody out there for the Astros that we can even semi-trust, though, I think this could be a decent spot to be on Houston, no doubt about it. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Seattle Mariners going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Angels. The Mariners come into this game fresh off a 2-0 win there. They swept the Padres in that little 2-game series there at San Diego, and now they get to take on the Angels. They're 51-43 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Luis Castillo, who's 7-9 this year with a 3.72 ERA. He's coming off a dominant outing against the Toronto Blue Jays, guys. He went 6 2/3 innings, gave up 2 hits, only a single earned run in that game. He struck out 8 and walked 2, so very, very good stuff from him in that one. Definitely nice to see him get back on the right track after having I would say at least a 3-start stretch there where he looked pretty questionable. The Mariners bullpen in general has been good. No shocker there, guys. A 3.72 bullpen ERA. Not as good as it's been at some other times this season. It's a number that's taken a little bit of a hit here recently, but overall, not a bullpen that we mistrust a lot. And looking at the hitting for this team, that's always the question mark, guys. They've scored 2, 8, 4, 4, and 2 runs respectively over their last few games. They're 27th in the majors in runs scored, dead last in the majors, batting .218 as a team. They're 3rd to last in slugging percentage. They're only 26th in the majors, getting on base at a .299 clip. Like, this is an absolutely terrible offense. So big question marks about this offense no matter who they're going up against. They're taking on the Angels, who come into this game. Well, they're currently playing right now against the Texas Rangers, guys. They're up 5-2 there in the top of the 8th inning. They're going to be handing the ball in this game to Jack Kohanowitz. He comes into this game out of the minor leagues, so we'll see what he can actually do, see how he's set up, see what kind of bullpen support he can expect. He's a young guy, obviously only 23 years old. He's a huge right-handed pitcher, so 6'7" out there on the mound, an absolute monster in size, but we'll see how he looks out there in this game. They're going to need him to go deep into the game, which is a very big ask for such a young guy since their bullpen is terrible, guys. A 4.61 bullpen ERA is, very close to the bottom in the majors. So big question marks about this Angels bullpen. I think they could give up plenty of runs to anybody, even a team like the Seattle Mariners. In terms of their offense, the Angels come into this game fresh off of a game where they scored at least 5 runs, and that would leave them at 5, 4, 4, and 0 runs respectively over their last few games. So maybe a slight uptick for an offense that hasn't been great this season. 24th in the majors in runs scored, 24th in the majors in on-base percentage, so not exactly an offense that I have a ton of faith in right now. Some significant question marks for how they're hitting the ball, and they're likely to need to score some runs, even going up against the Mariners, since the Angels are putting a minor league pitcher out there and have, one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Mariners at -154, the Angels at +130. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Seattle is only 20-25 on the road, so not a great road team, but the Angels are a terrible home team. They're 18-28 at home. In general, in terms of the side in this game, I'm definitely leaning towards the Mariners -154. Castillo's been good. It was good in his last start. The last time he faced the Angels was back on the 2nd of last month, and he went 7 dazzling innings, giving up only 2 hits, striking out 6 and walking 3 and giving up no runs. So expecting very good things from Castillo in this game, no doubt about it. And yeah, that really makes me lean towards the Mariners, despite the fact that they're on the road. In terms of the over-under in this game, we see Seattle is an over team on the road, which is pretty shocking, and that the Angels are an over team at home, but barely, just a tiny trend, pretty meaningless. In general, not really interested in the over-under in this game, but go ahead and give me a taste of the Mariners -154. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the Atlanta Braves going on the road to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Braves come into this game 51-39 on the season. They're currently playing right now in the bottom of the 8th inning with things all tied up at 5 apiece. So we'll see how they do here in Game 3 of this series. Looking to continue this and have a chance to sweep there in Game 4. They're going to be handing the ball in Game 4 to Max Fried, who's 7-4 this season with a 3.18 ERA. He's been looking very, very good over the course of the season. He's coming off of a very tough start, though. It was against the Phillies, so we'll cut him some slack. He went 6 innings, gave up 11 hits and 5 earned runs in a game we eventually saw the Braves lose 8-6. But over his other 4 starts, he's looked very, very good recently. Over his his sample of his last 5. And in general, this season we don't have a lot of negative things to say about him. The last time he faced the Diamondbacks, he didn't have a great time though, so that's a bit of a concern. That was all the way back on April 6th though, so cut him a little bit of slack. That was infinite ago. So we'll see how he does in this game. Generally speaking, though, we feel pretty decent about Max Fried out there on the mound, and we also feel pretty decent there about the Atlanta Braves bullpen. They're 2nd in the majors with a 2.88 bullpen ERA. So once Fried comes out of that game and the bullpen takes over, not a lot of concerns from me. And looking at the offense from this team, that's kind of where the concerns start to be a problem. They've been playing really well lately, guys. I mean, they've scored at least 5 runs in their current game, 6 in the game before that, 5 in the game before that, 6-0 in that win there against the Phillies in the last game of that series. So the offense has been trending in a positive direction. They're 17th in the majors in runs scored, 18th in the majors in team batting average. So just, looking like a slightly below average offense. And to be honest, that kind of makes sense to me. They're going to need to score some runs here going up against the Diamondbacks, who come into this game at 45-47 on the year. They did lose the first 2 games of the series, and it looks like it's anybody's game there in Game 3. So they're not having the best time lately. They're handing the ball in this game to Brandon Pfaadt, who's 3-6 this season with a 4.19 ERA. He's been dealing with a lingering ankle issue, but it seems like he's slated to go ahead and make his normal start here. The last time we saw him pitch, it was against the Padres. It was at the Padres. He went 4 1/3 innings. He gave up 7 hits over 4 1/3, but only a single run. So he did a good job of getting out of trouble with his 6 strikeouts and no walks there, but can you bank on that all the time? I don't know. Maybe against the Padres and the Oakland A's you can, but he got knocked around a bit by the Twins, and the last time he went up against the Atlanta Braves, guys, he straight up had a bad time back on the 6th of April. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 8 hits and 5 earned runs in a game that his team eventually lost 9-8. So we'll see if he fares better in this one. Brandon Pfaadt, not a guy I've been super high on in general this season. The Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen has been pretty bad this year as well. They're somewhere around, 25th or 26th or something like that in the majors with a 4.41 bullpen ERA, so that is not great. And the bats have been what has carried this team this season. I mean, they're 6th in the majors in runs scored, 9th in the majors in team batting average. They're 7th in the majors in on-base percentage. Like, definitely some good things to say about this offense, but man, are they going to be able to put up runs here against a guy like Max Fried? We're going to have to wait and see, guys. The Braves are -134 in this game. The Diamondbacks are +114. We've got an over-under of 8 in this one. Atlanta is 22-22 on the road. Arizona is 22-23 at home, so not a lot to go off of there. We also have mixed trends towards the over-under, with Arizona being a significant over team at home and Atlanta being a significant under team on the road. So in terms of that over-under of 8, I do tend to look at the over a bit in that one. I think we're going to see some offense for sure in this game. So yeah, over 8 seems like a significantly decent spot. I also lean towards the Braves -134 a little bit, especially if they're not going for the sweep, like if they drop Game 3 here, which is definitely looking possible. So we'll have to wait and see in this game. In general, my lean on this one is over 8. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.